All right, we're back here, and big thank you going out to TNZ Home Improvement and, of course, Rustic Works Furniture Company for this DIY segment. Now it's time for DIY, and if you were with us last week, if you remember well enough, that we had started the project on a floating shelf with secret storage. Now, we finished the first part. We had the top piece here, and we attached the side pieces. We also built the mechanism that would attach it to the wall. Now, I have not brought that today. If you want to see that, check our video from last week for the DIY, and you can see just how to get that going. But for now, we're going to go ahead with this second and final part of the floating shelf with secret storage. Now, this top piece here is 4 feet long by 1 foot wide. We attached the side braces here, which were 1 foot wide as well, and about 6 inches in height. All right, so what we're gonna do here now is we're gonna flip it over, and we are going to actually attach the front piece, because as I said, it's gonna be a storage unit as well. So we're gonna actually use this front piece here, which is solid pine, which is 4 feet long. And what we're gonna do is create a door, so to say. So I have some hinges here. You're gonna need two 2-inch hinges. They each have 2 holes on each side, so 4 holes in total and one. You're going to need the screws for those hinges. These are 1-inch screws. All right, we got a nice close up there. All right, so we're going to need 8 of those. We're going to need some 2-inch screws because we're going to attach the bottom piece as well. And if you notice from the change from last week to this week in the color of this, we'll actually sanded this down and give it a little bit of a stain so it could look a little bit nicer. So let's go ahead with that now. You're going to need a power screwdriver preferably. And since it's plywood, you don't really need to pre-drill holes. So you could work with it just like that. But if you prefer to do that and you think it's safer that way, well, then you could pre-drill your holes first, and then we can get moving on the other part. The reason I have not put the bottom on is because we need to access this area here to attach the hinges. And finally, we'll put the bottom piece on, which would then line up really nicely to finish this piece off. And you can then attach it to your wall with the mechanism. You have to check back that video from last week, and then we'll move forward from there. Okay, so let me just clear this area a little bit because I need to move things around. So for those of you listening on Talk City 91.1 FM, what I'm doing right now is just removing all the things out of the table. I have flipped over the shelf, so now it is inverted, and the bottom piece, which is not yet attached, is on my table, and I'm now moving this right over here. I need a little more space to get this down in the groove because we need to line it up so that it fits flush. All right, so now it's time to attach hinges. I have a measuring tape over here, and we want to just get a rough measure of where the hinges must go because they need to be equidistant so that we wouldn't have any problems when we are closing this thing up. All right, so I'm measuring 4 inches from the left side first. I'm going to make my mark. That's where the end of the hinge will go. Gonna then make a 4-inch measurement from the right side and make my mark, and that will mark where I have to put my hinge on that side as well. So then we are ensured that everything is nice and even. Okay, so now that we have the spots for the hinges, now we're just gonna attach the hinges themselves. It is imperative that you place the hinges in the proper place, or else your thing wouldn't operate like it's supposed to. So as I said, we don't need to pre-drill holes here just because these are smaller screws, and also because, let me just get this out of the way for now, place it, because I know where it has to go. All right, there we go. Since it's plywood, it's a little more friendly with getting screws in. Just want to go slowly at first and then drive it. So I'm putting in the screw on the left side first. Nice and lined up. Now we're going to go on the opposite side and attach it to the underside of the shelf on this side. And again, you line it up with the line you just made that you measured 4 inches. Ensure that your hinge is on the same side of the mark as you did on the opposite side. Driving my screw in now. Now the second one. Right. Now we can attach the front piece. As you see over here, you want the smooth and the nice looking side to be on the outside of this, all right? So you make sure that your Yeah, you make sure that you line it up in such a way. Let me turn this around a little bit, just so that I'm drilling downward rather than trying to drill from the side, just so I have more control. So what we're gonna do right here, right now, is flip it like this. Now it's gonna block y'all a little bit, unfortunately, but what is very important is that you line this up with the top piece here. If we can look in a little bit closely, make sure that the front piece that you're putting on is lined up properly with the end of the piece, all right? So from here, one more time, I'm gonna drive screws. You can't see it from here right now, but if my cameraman is behind me, thankfully. So that's one side in, and just to make your life a little bit easier, I want to put one screw on each side first, just so the unit supports itself. And from there, you can drive the other screw much more easily, because you're not trying to play a balancing game. All right, so just 2 more screws on either side, and we are ready to put on our bottom piece to complete this. The nice thing about a floating shelf is that it looks attractive, and this one doubles as storage, so you could put away some things that you prefer to be out of sight. All right, so we're driving in the final screw here, then we're ready to put in the bottom piece. Nice. See if this front piece works. All right, there we go. Now we flip it over, and this piece that is on the bottom here actually ends up on top, so we can drive it down. Thank you, Rishi.
I'm a helpful person.
Yep, you aim to please.
I live to please.
All right, so to attach this, we now need some 1.5 inch screws, which I've brought here, and you need roughly 6. So you need to ensure that this slides there. So now we see that it fits flush. And you may need to apply a little pressure, because in this thing of building things, you measure twice and then you cut and then you squeeze it to fit anyway. All right, so you want to line up your corners first and foremost. So apply a little pressure here. If it would only cooperate, there we go. One side, and I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing on the other side, just so that it incorporates a little bit more and everything is lined up at first, and then I don't have to worry too much about trying to make everything squeeze in. All right, now life will be a little bit easier because it's in place. So I'll then go behind and put in the fastening screws, and then we'll have a finished piece, which would be ready to put on that attachment mechanism that I made last week. So again, if you have not seen it, you could just go onto our Facebook or YouTube, and you can catch the episode from last week of DIY Now. And there we go. I'll just put 2 more for safety. All right. And if you were here last week and you remember the piece I created, what you actually do, that piece is attached to the wall itself. You then, there we go, slide this. That's why there's an exit piece over here. That's why there's no covering over here, because it actually slides over the piece you created. And then you have your floating shelf. All right, so that's it for DIY Now. A big thank you going out again to our sponsors, TNZ Home Improvement and Rustic Works Furniture Company.